No maid survived with the millionaire's daughter until one made a dark discovery at midnight. Lila had heard the whispers surrounding the mansion. The immense structure, sprawled across the hill, cast an ominous shadow over the small town. They said it was cursed. No maid had ever lasted more than a month with the Millionaire'S daughter, Sara. Each one vanished, leaving behind only traces of panic. One night, Lila would uncover what truly lurked within its walls. The air felt heavy the evening Lila walked through the massive iron gates, the smell of grass and decay intertwining. Inside, the mansion echoed silence. The walls were lined with portraits. The eyes of the subjects followed her, alive with secrets. Lila's heart raced. She felt the weight of them, like 1,000 caged stories begging to be told. The grand chandelier flickered above her, casting alien shadows that danced mischievously across the rich mahogany floor. There was something in the air, something electric that made her skin crawl. Every room was a maze of luxury and loneliness. Sara was beautiful, with flowing hair like liquid gold, yet her smile held a darkness that chilled Lila to the bone. The story spoke of a locked room the one maid dared to open it, and nobody ever saw her again. Lila's mind buzzed with questions. What was so terrifying that no one returned from that forbidden space? As night fell, she heard something, a low whisper, almost melodic, calling to her from the darkened hallway. Following the sound, she felt an inexplicable pull, as if the house itself were saying, "Come closer." Lila's pulse quickened. She reached for the knob of the cold, heavy door at the end of the hall. It felt wrong. Something wicked lived inside. A sense of dread washed over her. Would she too become another ghost of the mansion? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Lila hesitated, her hand hovering above the doorknob. A sharp intake of breath, and she turned it slowly. The door creaked open to darkness, and she could finally see the flicker of a solitary candle within. Shadows danced on the walls, weaving tales of lost souls and chilling despair. Inside, an ancient mirror stood, cracked and dusty, but it reflected an undeniable truth. For a split second, she saw not her own face, but the face of the lost maid, still trapped, still looking for a way out. A sudden chill swept through her, and Lila shivered. She couldn't turn away now. There was too much at stake. Little did she know, as she stepped deeper into that room, freedom was the last thing she would find. The mirror pulsed with a low, sinister energy, reflecting the flickering candlelight. Lila felt as if 1,000 eyes were judging her from within its depths. Her heart thudded against her ribs, a rapid drumbeat of fear and exhilaration. Breathe, she reminded herself, but the air felt thick and suffocating. Why am I here? She whispered, half to herself, half to the oppressive darkness. Was she ready for what lay ahead? That burning question lingered, heavy in the cool night. The candle flickered violently, casting morbid, elongated shadows. A rush of wind seemed to sweep through the room, and for a fleeting moment, Lila thought she caught sight of a figure, ethereal, graceful, but dressed in despair. Panic clawed at her throat, but curiosity anchored her feet to the ground. Stay, the whisper floated on the air, sweet yet sharp. She recognized it now, a desperate plea echoing through the abyss. It wasn't only haunting, it was yearning. Lila's mind had conjured up tales of the previous maids, all woven into the very threads of the mansion's fabric. What had they found? What secrets lay hidden behind that mirror? As Lila leaned closer, her breath fogging the glass, her pulse quickened. She could see flickers of movement behind her own reflection, swirling shadows as if they had a life of their own. Had these shapes been the maids? Were they trapped, just like the woman in the mirror? A surge of defiance consumed her. I won't be afraid, Lila whispered, trembling. She reached out, fingertips brushing the cold surface. Instead of the expected ice, warmth radiated from the mirror, jolting through her like a shockwave. The room trembled under her touch. In an instant, the flickering candle extinguished, plunging her into darkness. Heart racing, she could hear the low hum of whispers grow louder, blending into a sorrowful chorus. It felt as if the mansion were alive, pulsating with the weight of untold stories. "Find me," the voices compelled, drawing Lila inward. Suddenly, she was enveloped in a blinding flash of light. The room warped around her, and just as quickly, it faded to silence. When her eyes adjusted, she discovered herself standing inside a vast, forgotten hallway, lined with doors each more imposing than the last. The air felt thick with despair. "Choose," came the whisper again, insistent, carrying a weight that settled on her shoulders. The pressure was overwhelming. Each door was adorned with horrors and wonders alike, and Lila sensed a pulse of energy radiating from them. The door at the end of the hall suddenly creaked open, revealing a faintly lit chamber filled with dust and cobwebs. Heart pounding, Lila stepped forward, drawn to it like a moth to a flame. The moment she entered, she gasped. It was a room unlike any other, filled with portraits of the missing maids, each one a ghostly figure, looking out as if begging for salvation. Their eyes, once vibrant, now dulled like the forgotten memories they represented. Just then, a chilling realization washed over her. These women were not just missing. They were imprisoned, held captive by Serena's darkness. And that darkness was waiting for Lila. "Lila," a soft voice called from behind her. It was Serena, standing in the shadows, a knowing smile curling her lips. "You found them. But did you also find what you were seeking?" Fear knotted in Lila's stomach. What had she truly uncovered? And was she the one they had all been waiting for? The door slammed shut behind her, sealing her fate within the walls of the mansion. The timid whispers shifted to frantic screams as she turned to face Serena, who took a step closer, the shadows dancing behind her. "What will you do now, my dear maid?" The urgency of the moment sent a spark of panic through Lila. Something dark was ready to be unleashed. What would she discover next? Would she unravel the truth, or become just another face in the portraits? Lila's instincts screamed at her to run, but her legs felt like lead, rooted to the floor as Serena stepped into the dim light. The woman's presence was suffocating, a mix of cold shadows and horror that cloaked the room. Lila's gaze darted to the portraits, the eyes of the maids seemingly pleading for rescue, for someone to break this curse of silence. "Why are you doing this?" Lila managed to choke out, her voice a mere whisper, barely rising above the chorus of wails that surrounded her. Serena's smile widened, revealing teeth too white for the gloom. "Doing what? You mean helping them? They've been lost for so long. I think they've forgotten what it means to be free. I'm merely offering them companionship." Companionship. Lila spat the word. "This isn't companionship. This is," Serena interrupted, her voice like silk. "You don't understand, do you? Each one of them is a piece of a puzzle. A reflection of my past, your past. All maids like you. Each door conceals truths so dark, they shatter the very notion of what it means to serve." With every word, Lila felt something churn in her gut. Each maid had a story, a fate sealed within those canvases, and Serena was here to collect them. The fear crept deeper, vein by vein, as she realized the truth oozing from Serena's words. "Do you want to know their fate, Lila?" Serena asked, stepping closer, her eyes now full of shadows. "Or would your conscience prefer the bliss of ignorance?" The shadows behind Serena writhed, pulsating with life, and Lila's heart raced. It felt as if the mansion pressed in around her, the walls shimmering with dark energy, every crack echoing the cry of the lost souls within. She shook her head, unwilling to succumb to Serena's games. With a sweeping motion, Serena gestured toward a door at the far end of the room, a polished, darker frame with odd carvings that seemed to flicker if she looked at them for too long. "Open it, Lila. Open the door to their truth. See what it means to be bound to me. What lies behind it?" Lila's voice trembled, unsure of what awaited her. "The last and final story, the one that leads to your liberation or your doom," Serena replied, a taunting lilt in her tone. "You hold the key to their release, and possibly your own." Instincts clamored. Her thoughts twisted violently. But what if I can't save them? What if it's you? The shadows shivered, seeming to whisper warnings, raising hair on her arms. Serena's eyes glinted with a mixture of amusement and something darker. "Ah, But Lila, who might be left to save you? Your testimony is all that remains. The path you choose will seal your fate and theirs. Her throat tightened. Lila glanced back at the portraits, feeling every pair of eyes on her, each haunting gaze urging her forward. Memories of the stories she had woven about their lives flooded her. Lila wasn't just a maid in this cruel game. She was a player. Resolute, she stepped toward the ominous door, an unseen force pulling at her. Heart pounding, she reached for the cold handle, feeling a pull deep within her gut. What happens if I open this door? Everything, Sara breathed, an almost childlike glee in her voice. Or nothing at all. The door creaked ominously as she twisted the handle, preparing to confront what lay on the other side. Light poured through the widening crack, illuminating Sara's face, twisting it into a sinister mask of delight. What truth awaited Lila beyond that door? Would it be a revelation or another trap waiting to ensnare her? The door swung open, a rush of light flooding the room with a warmth that starkly contrasted the chill emanating from Sara. Lila hesitated at the threshold, her heart hammering in her chest. Inside, she could barely make out the outlines of an old, dusty library filled with countless books. The air was thick with the scent of aged paper and the weight of unspoken secrets. As Lila stepped over the threshold, the light flickered, illuminating rows upon rows of shelves crammed with tomes. Titles glimmered, each one a promise of knowledge, yet they felt more like chains binded by time. Shadows danced in the corners, taunting her. The peaceful ambience was deceptive, and Lila could feel the tension rising, a predatory anticipation lurking in the silence. Welcome to their stories, Sara purred, echoing through the vastness. Each book holds the truth of those you see in the portraits. But beware, dear Lila. Discovering their tales may unleash something far darker than you ever imagined. What do you mean? Lila shot back, her eyes darting against the rows of books, searching for an escape that did not exist. A fragile thread of bravery knotted within her, urging her to resist Sara's grasp. How naive, Sara chuckled, her laughter cascading through the musty air. These pages are filled with the cries and the betrayals. Each maid's tale comes with a price, and their freedom hinges upon yours. Lila moved deeper into the library, her fingers trailing along the spines. One particular book caught her attention, its cover brittle and gold embossed, glittering with the faintest light. The name etched across the front sent a shiver down her spine. Maria's Burden. Tentatively, she pulled it from the shelf. A chill swept through her as she opened the cover. The pages whispered like ghosts, revealing the tragic life of a maid who once served in this very mansion. Betrayal and sorrow dripped from every line. Lila felt the weight of Maria's life, thick in her throat, as if the very grief was being siphoned into her. Do you see, Lila? Sara's voice was a whisper now, slinking around her. Doesn't it make sense? You're woven into their fabric, part of their struggle. Without you, their stories remain trapped. Don't you want to help them? No, Lila whispered, shaking her head as she slammed the book shut, the finality echoing in the quiet. I can't bear this. I can't bear the weight of their pain. Oh, but to save them, you must bear your own, Sara insisted, stepping closer, eyes gleaming with dark delight. Would you deny them because of your fear? Silence enveloped them, the shadows in the library closing in, suffocating Lila's resolve. She had always been a cog in the oppression of others. But now, before she could dwell on the thought, a cacophony erupted from the far side of the library. The bookshelves trembled, and a dark swath of shadow shot across the floor toward Lila. Heart racing, she took a step back, glancing at Sara, whose expression morphed from glee to unrestrained eagerness. Come, Lila. They're awakening. Sara called, her voice electric with thrill. Will you stand against the darkness or embrace the shadow of freedom? Lila's breath quickened. Her hands trembled, sweat beading at her temples. The shadows seemed alive, writhing, hungry. What would she face next? In this moment, the line between savior and captive blurred. She had to choose. Behind her lay the door through which she could flee, yet here was the agony of truth, shimmering like a beacon amidst the growing darkness. Do it. Choose, Sara urged, her voice filled with an insatiable hunger that made Lila's stomach turn. Would she confront the truth? Or would she retreat, allowing the shadows to consume another maid's fate? The tension coiled tight within her, a living thing ready to spring. As she reached for the next book, could she hold back the darkness, or would it expose her own buried secrets? The time to decide was now. The world shifted around Lila as she reached for the next book, the shadows swirling eagerly at her feet. She felt as if the air weighty with dread was tangling itself in her lungs. Her fingers brushed against a leather-bound volume, the title obscured in the darkness, but she had no time to ponder. The shadows surged closer, their dark tendrils grasping at her, whispering with voices of despair and longing. Choose. Serena's voice grew sharper, slicing through the tension like a blade. You have to understand, Lila. Their fates rest in your hands. With a shuddering breath, Lila yanked the book from the shelf. The pages opened with a sharp crack, and the ghostly light from the library flickered like a candle fighting against a wind. The title displayed itself boldly. Agnes's Last Breath. A chill crept across her skin as she began to read. Agnes had been the maid of a powerful family, her heart weighed down by secrets she could never voice. Each passage drew Lila in further a tale of ill-fated love, betrayal that echoed through time, and a desperate plea for freedom that went unanswered. Lila could almost feel the heat of Agnes's heartbreak, the way the ink felt dampened with tears shed in silence. No, no, Lila gasped as she turned the page, the unsettling weight of empathy crushing down on her. I can't carry this. Not again. Serena stepped closer, her voice no longer playful but insistent and compelling. You must push through, Lila. Each story is a thread the truth you weave can lead to their salvation. But was it really salvation, or merely another layer of torment piled upon their souls? A sudden gust of air whipped through the library, rattling the shelves. Lila felt the icy fingers of fear wrap around her throat. Dark shadows began to peel away from the corners, taking shape, forming silhouettes of women who had once roamed these halls. Ghostly figures looked at her with longing, their faces twisted in silent screams for help. Don't be scared, one of them whispered, her voice a strand of silk across Lila's skin. Help us, Lila. We can make it together. Frantically, Lila scanned the shelves, their secrets beckoning to her. She was drowning in their despair, yet craving the thrill of discovering the truths hidden within these pages. Just as her resolve began to crack, she focused on Agnes's tale, hoping for a lifeline. But what if I fail? Lila murmured, the weight of uncertainty suffocating her. What if their pain becomes my own? Serena's expression darkened, shadows fluttering in response. You won't fail if you fight. You've known betrayal before, Lila. Don't you see? Their stories are no different from yours. Suddenly, the shadows surged forth, enveloping Lila entirely, whispering her name like a chant fueled by desperation and rage. She felt the cool grasp of those beyond reach, their energy weaving around her crumbling defenses. Do you truly want to escape? A voice boomed from the depths, harnessing power Lila couldn't comprehend. If you turn away now, others will suffer, as you once did. The revelation shook her to the core. She remembered the stories from her own life, the failures and betrayal, the drown of her own hopes. She had always run from the darkness. But now, something was awakening within her, stirring a fight long buried. As the shadows congregated, Lila's heart raced. She had to decide. Would she pull the next book and plunge headlong into the abyss? Or would she turn her back on the impending doom wrapped within the library's tapestries of betrayal? The moment stretched painfully, her pulse drumming in her ears. A single whisper broke the silence, echoing louder than Serena's pleas. Choose wisely. With trembling hands, Lila swallowed hard, feeling the thrill of fear and courage collide. She wasn't just defending the maid's stories anymore. She could reshape her own narrative. As she flipped open Agnes's tale, her heart, set on an uncertain destiny, light and darkness raced to engulf her at once. But would Lila rise to the challenge? Or would she find herself entangled in a legacy of pain far beyond her own understanding? Caught on the brink, Lila reached for the next chapter, but would the truth liberate her, or summon a darkness she could never escape? Lila gasped as the shadows surged even closer, suffocating her in their icy embrace. She clung to the book, Agnes's Last Breath, feeling the cool leather against her skin, a lifeline in the deepening gloom. Her heart raced as she read the words that seemed to pulse with dark energy. Agnes, the maid. A woman suffocated by secrets, bound to a family whose silk curtains hid far more than their wealth. The room shifted around Lila, transforming into Agnes's world, a grand estate filled with whispered conversations and fleeting glances. She sensed Agnes's sadness wrapping around her like a fog, heavy and foreboding. At that moment, Lila knew she needed to illuminate the darkness. Something deep within urged her to discover more than just a haunting tale. She flipped to another page, her breath quickening as old ink bled into new hope. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a silhouette of a woman whose features were lost in darkness. Lila's heart pounded in her chest. She could feel the weight of her gaze pressing down. "You found us," the figure whispered, her voice shaky yet powerful. "It's time to reveal the truth." "Reveal what?" Lila's voice trembled, barely breaking through her fear. "The family they didn't just break Agnes. They destroyed us all," the figure replied, urgency building in her tone. "But we can't expose the horrors we faced. It's too late for our souls." Fury ignited within Lila. It wasn't just about Agnes anymore. It was about all the women who suffered in silence. She could be their voice. "No, I won't let your stories fade away. Not while I'm here." The air crackled, shifting as the shadows crested into a violent tempest around her. "Then you must endure," the silhouette warned, eyes glimmering with a desperate fire. "The truth is ruthless, and the cost, it may consume you." With a fierce determination coursing through her veins, Lila closed her eyes and conjured the energies swirling around her. She became a vessel, ready to absorb the pain and memories long forgotten. She felt their stories enter her, memories stretching and snapping as if tethered by despair. Each image was vivid, a room drenched in sorrow, a hand reaching for help that never arrived. As she opened her eyes, the library morphed again, the shelves filled with unrelenting whispers of betrayal. "What do I do next?" Lila's voice faltered, doubt creeping back in. Would her own heart break under this weight? "Unlock the truth," the shadow urged. "Find a key." Suddenly, Lila's gaze fell upon a small drawer embedded in the ancient oak desk beside her. Compelled, she moved toward it, heart hammering like a warning bell. She pulled on the tarnished brass handle, a deep creak echoing through the library. The drawer opened ajar, darkness pooling around it like a living thing. Inside, nestled among dusty scrolls, lay a small key, glowing faintly, almost like a heartbeat of its own. Lila's pulse quickened. What awaited her on the other side of that key? The shadows roared, and the air thickened. "You cannot go back, Lila. Once you uncover what lies beyond, there is no turning back." Her fingers wrapped around the key, its coldness biting into her palm. Breathing deeply, she steeled herself. What had Agnes unmasked? What truths had been buried beneath layers of silence? "Let the darkness consume you, or let it guide you," the shadow murmured, gently echoing through the swirling haze. With a determined pulse, she placed the key against the ancient lock, a single heartbeat frozen in time. Suddenly, the ground beneath her shook as if the library itself were alive, responding to her decision. Tremors ripped through the air, and Lila's heart raced with fear and anticipation. Unlock it, or be lost in despair forever. The shadows warred around her, voices crashing like thunder. With one decisive motion, she turned the key. Would it be the revelation that would illuminate their stories, or a curse so deep it would swallow her whole? As the lock clicked, Lila took a breath and prepared for what lay beyond. And in that moment, she realized every choice carved her destiny anew. What awaited her on the other side could redefine everything. Would this key lead to freedom or a new form of torment? Only time could tell, but one thing was certain. Lila was about to dive deeper into darkness than ever before. The lock clicked, and the air in the library shifted as if it had drawn in a sharp breath. Lila felt a surge of power course through her fingertips as the door revealed itself, creaking slowly open. The shadows swirled, swirling around her, whispering ancient secrets of the past. The cold gust of wind rushed out from the darkened space beyond, ruffling pages in the books around her. With her heart hammering, Lila stepped over the threshold, the key clutched tightly in her hand. She entered the passage, and the scent of old wood and mildew enveloped her. It was overwhelming, as if the very air carried the ghosts of those who lived and perished within these walls. The narrow corridor stretched before her, claustrophobic and dim. Flickering candlelight illuminated the peeling wallpaper, revealing shadows that danced with her every move. It felt alive. The walls whispered, and Lila could almost make out fragments of conversation trapped in the past, words heavy with regret. Lila, a voice echoed softly, rich with sorrow. She spun around, searching the shadows for its source, heart racing wildly. "Help us," it continued. A chill crawled up her spine, the icy tendrils of fear gripping at her chest. Was this Agnes? The lost souls desperately reaching for solace. Steeling herself, Lila pressed forward, drawn by an unseen force. Each step echoed, amplifying her sense of isolation. "What do you want me to find?" she murmured into the dark, her voice trembling. She stumbled upon a door, slightly ajar, its ancient wood warped and crooked. With a shaky breath, she pushed it open. Inside was a small room, the air thick with dust and despair. Moonlight streamed through the cracked window, catching items strewn about like memories left to decay. Lila's gaze fell on a faded diary, its leather cover torn and worn. A shiver of recognition pulsed through her, the same diary Agnes might have kept. Gingerly, she picked it up, the weight of its history almost too much to bear. Time felt suspended as she opened it, heart pounding nervously. "Secrets will bind you," it read, words scrawled hastily. "And betrayal will shape you." The words twisted in her mind, spiraling her thoughts into darkness. Was she, too, being shaped by them? Eyebrows knitted, Lila turned the pages, each one bleaker than the last, a life marked by a family's cruelty and deceit. Agnes had documented horrors she couldn't voice aloud, revealing the intimate struggles of women who lived under the facade of wealth. Suddenly, the shadows surged forth, angry voices rising like an unholy choir. "You must end it. Expose them." The sounds wailed, the room vibrating under the weight of their fury. Panic gripped Lila. She felt pinned between reality and something much darker. "Stop," she shouted, her own voice breaking through the chaos. "I want to help you. What do you need me to do?" In response, a single image flared to life in her mind: an attic. Crumbling boxes filled with old letters and photographs. Hidden treasures of truth that could shatter the family's facade. But danger lurked in that darkness. The very family that had wielded so much control over Agnes's life would be watching, waiting. "I need to go," Lila whispered, feeling the pressure of the moment. "I can unlock the truth for you." She took a deep breath, gripping the diary tightly. The shadows roared in approval but also in warning. The tides were turning. This was a step toward revelation, but it might pierce through her own safety, too. With one last glance at the diary, she turned on her heels and left the room, determined to uncover the secrets buried even deeper within the estate. As she treaded back through the pulsating corridor, a thought flickered in her mind: would she risk everything to usher in a semblance of freedom for the lost souls, or would she become a casualty of their pain? As she approached the stairs leading to the attic, darkness closed in around her once more, the shadows pushing against her resolve. What awaited her there could either liberate her or doom her to the same fate as Agnes, and with each step upward, the question lingered in the air. Would she be able to confront the horrors of the attic and emerge with the truth intact, or would the past swallow her whole? The attic door stood before her, looming and shrouded in shadows. Lila hesitated, the cold metal of the handle biting into her palm. "This is it," she told herself. "No turning back now." Taking a deep breath, she turned the knob and pushed the door, the hinges creaking like a wounded animal. As she stepped into the attic, her pulse quickened, the atmosphere thick with dust and the weight of secrets long buried. Old trunks loomed in the corners like silent sentinels, and cobwebs draped over the exposed beams, as if the very architecture held its breath, aware of the dark history it harbored. The moonlight spilled in through a solitary window, casting eerie silhouettes across the floor. The shadows seemed to shift and twist around her, whispering promises of revelation, yet a threat wove through them. Lila felt it in her bones. "Agnes," she called softly, hoping for mere vulnerability, but fearing it might be her own. The silence swallowed her words, thick and suffocating. With cautious steps, she moved further inside, instinctively drawn to the far wall where boxes lay piled high. The one on top was unmarked, a vintage trunk with tarnished metal clasps. She knelt beside it, heart hammering so loud she swore it drowned out her surroundings. Lila's fingers trembled as she fumbled for the clasps, the air around her charged, as if the walls were watching. With a swift tug, the trunk's lid opened, revealing stacks of yellowed letters and delicate photographs, frozen in time. She reached in, her fingertips grazing the paper. It felt like touching the pulse of history. The first letter caught her eye, an elegant script penned by Agnes herself. "To my dearest," it began, but trailed off into a series of desperate, scribbled thoughts about unanswerable questions and unbreakable chains. Lila's heart sank. What had Agnes endured? Suddenly, she felt it again, the prickle of being watched. The hair on the back of her neck stood up. Was it the shadows? Or something far worse? Just as doubt encroached, the attic door swung closed behind her, shutting her in with whatever darkness lay hidden. Lila, the voice came again, clearer this time, unmistakably Agnes but layered with anguish. Panic surged, stealing her breath. "Show me who you are," Lila shouted, her voice thick with terror. The attic erupted with a flurry of cold air, sending papers fluttering like a frenzy of moths drawn to the light. "Help me finish this," the voice whispered, the echo shimmering in the dim light, fading in and out like a fragile heartbeat. Lila stumbled back, clinging to the trunk. She could ignore it, fold in on herself, let dread take her, but something drove her, as if she was woven into Agnes's tapestry of sorrow. "What do you need from me?" she gasped, eyes wild as shadows danced hungrily. "Find the truth," it came again, insistent and layered with layers of grief. "Set me free." The request shook her to the core. Could she bear the burden of exposing the hidden truths that had ensnared Agnes's life? A sense of unbearable urgency wrapped around her heart. She needed to dig deeper, uncover everything. Lila's hand trembled as she reached for the next stack of letters. They threatened to spill out, cascading around her feet, each page a fragment of a story begging to be told. As she read, her breath quickened at the revelation's adultery, betrayal, and a family haunted by its own sins. Her heart raced, torn between fear and the rush of adrenaline. "What if exposing them destroys you too?" she whispered, the fear of the unknown clawing at her. But the shadows pressed in tighter, demanding action, urging her onward. The resolve deepened inside her. She had to find the final pieces of this dark puzzle. And just then, a quick rustle behind her sent ice through her veins. Lila turned, pulse drumming in her ears, to see a figure emerging from the shadows, familiar and yet horrifying. The remnants of a past entwined with something wicked, an answer bathed in horror. "Lila," it said, voice smooth but cold. "You shouldn't have come here." The fear spiraled, a tight knot in her stomach. Who was this intruder, and what did they want? In that moment, Lila knew she stood on the edge of an abyss. The darkness yearned to consume her. Would she find the strength to continue, or would her search for truth lead to her undoing? The attic held its breath around her. What more lay hidden in the shadows of this cursed estate? The answer awaited, just out of reach. Lila squinted, trying to make sense of the figure. It was her mother, standing just beyond the trunk, an unsettling smile stretched across her face. But something about her eyes was wrong, shiny and vacant, as if they were merely mirrors reflecting the torment around them. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Lila's voice quivered, uncertainty crackling in the air between them. The shadows played tricks, warping the space until the familiar contours of her mother's face twisted into something grotesque. "You shouldn't have come up here, Lila," the woman said, her voice soft yet tinged with a steel edge that only amplified Lila's unease. "You've always been too curious for your own good." Lila backed away, her heart racing. "Curiosity is how you discover the truth." She shot back, the anger bubbling up like a boiling pot. "Agnes needs my help. I can't just turn back now." The figure sighed, a sound that echoed eerily in the confined space. "You don't know what you're asking for, child. Some truths should remain buried." With every word, Lila felt the chill of dread creeping deeper into her bones. She couldn't let her fear paralyze her. "Why did you come here? How did you even know I was up here?" Her mind raced with questions, each one heavier than the last. "Because I have always been watching over you," her mother replied, stepping closer, the distance narrowing, darkening the air around them. This house, it carries burdens that will crush anyone who tries to uncover them. Get away from me, Lila yelled, adrenaline surging through her. The words hung thick in the dust-laden air, and for a moment, the shadows seemed to retreat, as if recoiling from the confrontation. But her mother only smiled wider, a visceral grin split across her face and showcasing too many teeth. You think you can change anything? You think the past can just be rewritten? You have no idea of the forces that are at play here. Lila's heart leapt into her throat, a fear she couldn't shake smothering her. No, she screamed, turning her back on the apparition. She lunged for the trunk, shoving letters aside frantically, searching for anything that could help her escape the tightening coils of this nightmare. The room spun, shadows swirling with a life of their own. Then she remembered Agnes's last letter. Maybe it held a key, something she missed in her panic. Help me, Agnes. I can't do this alone, she pleaded, feeling the pressure building around her, as if the walls were closing in, threatening to crush her understanding of reality. Stop! A voice crackled like tearing paper, echoing in the stillness. It wasn't Agnes. The tone was sharp, commanding. Lila whipped around to see her mother gone, replaced by a swirling mist that twisted like smoke. She squinted against the haze, catching glimpses of another figure moving towards her, just beyond the twilight shadows, a tall man, with sharp features and an imposing presence. You're too late, he sneered. You shouldn't have touched those letters. What do you want? Lila said, voice trembling, realizing how deep the darkness went. Her instincts screamed for flight, but she could not abandon this fight. Not now. Let me show you, he said, almost casually, his lips curling with a wicked charm as he cracked his knuckles. The truth is much more entertaining than any secret you've uncovered. Suddenly, the letters around her exploded into a whirlwind, spinning like leaves in a storm, words scrabbling to escape. She felt the weight of the trunk dragging her down, and a single horrifying thought struck her: what if he was right? What if the darkness lurking within these stories was too powerful to contend with? Lila felt the ground beneath her begin to shake, pulling her closer to the abyss that lay ahead, an entanglement she wasn't sure she could survive. With her heart pounding, she needed to face whatever terror awaited her, but could she? With a defiant breath, she stood tall, poised on the brink of revelation. A thought flashed through her mind: what if the truth was more than she bargained for? And then, from within the chaos, another voice echoed, a chilling whisper creeping through the cacophony. You're in way over your head, Lila. Choose wisely. What had she walked into, and what lurked within those letters that was ready to consume her? Time slipped away, leaving only the truth awaiting, twisted and hungry. Lila stood in the chaos, the swirling letters spinning around her like a tempest of lost souls. Her heart thudded in her chest, heavy with fear, yet powered by an unexpected resolve. She wasn't just a maid. She was a vessel of their stories, a catalyst for change. Enough, she shouted, forcing the words out with fierce defiance. The shadows momentarily hesitated, caught in her determination. She could feel the presence of the man, dark and consuming, challenging her very sanity. What do you hope to accomplish? He sneered, taking a step closer, shadows draping around him like a cloak. You think mere words can unleash the truth? You'll drown in them. The whirlwind of letters collapsed momentarily, revealing fleeting images of the maids' faces twisted in anguish, hands reaching out as if to grasp her. Lila felt a spark ignite within her. Their pain was real, and if she turned away now, they would remain imprisoned forever. I won't be afraid. I will expose the truth, Lila screamed, her voice steady, resonating with the call of countless forgotten souls. Suddenly, the letters stilled around her, forming a swirling vortex of history. One by one, they shifted and floated, ready to lay bare the secrets they contained. The man's confident smirk faltered. You don't know what you're tampering with. But I do, Lila replied, holding Agnes's diary close to her heart. You think I'm here for just the maids? No. I have my own story, too. And if I'm to free them, I need to confront every darkness, even my own. With newfound strength, Lila stepped forward, the glow from Agnes's diary growing like a beacon of hope. The shadows writhed in anger, but also in uncertainty. She raised the book high, pouring every ounce of her will into her voice. I understand the suffering behind these words, and I want it told. The waves of darkness rippled, revealing fragmented scenes from the past. Whispers of deceit, confessions of heartbreak, a family's legacy tainted by betrayal. Each event passed through her like an electric current, filling her with both agony and clarity. She could see them, the ghosts of the maids, rising from the darkness, their faces morphing into a tapestry of pain and hope interwoven. "This is my story too," Lila shouted, her voice echoing through the attic. The dust vibrated in response as if the very air recognized her struggle. The man's form flickered, the malevolence draining from his presence. He began to dissipate, shadows unraveling like a spool of thread that a booming voice reverberated through the space. "Your will is admirable, Lila, but bear wisdom. The truth will shatter you too. Let me choose my own path." Lila defied, her grip on the diary tightening, the energy from the pages radiating a warmth through her that she never knew she craved. "The shadows are relentless. They won't let go," the swirling mist retorted, released by the opposition but still relentless in its growing energy. With every syllable she spoke, Lila unveiled another line from the book, owning their stories, owning her own. The attic shimmered as Agnes's voice intertwined with hers, fierce yet fragile. "You must confront me, Lila. Only then will we all find peace." Lila's breath caught. "Confront the darkness?" she whispered, realization washing over her. "That's how I can set you free. I have to acknowledge the hurt and weave it into the truth." Without hesitation, Lila summoned every ounce of courage she had. She reached into the swirling shadows, burning light igniting from Agnes's words. The shroud that once paralyzed her began to lift. The cries of the women, once desperate and pained, now morphed into cries of support, amplifying her strength. With every heartbeat, boundaries fell away. The words on the pages became a symphony of voices longing to be heard. "You can't silence the truth. I won't let you," she proclaimed, feeling the swell of emotions collide as she turned every narrative into a path of liberation. The crack of thunder rumbled above, and with it came the shadow's final roar. All the lost souls surged forward, illuminating the room while Lila anchored herself. Against fear, the man's presence dissolving into the very air she inhaled. Suddenly, silence draped the attic, a blanket of stillness that felt soothing yet charged. The scattered pages settled around her like fallen leaves, the weight finally lifted. Light shimmered. Twin spirits of Agnes and her fellow maids now stood side by side, smiles breaking through the lingering shadows. "Thank you for being our voice, Lila. You set us free," Agnes whispered, her spectral form glowing. "You were never meant to carry this weight alone." Tears ran down Lila's cheeks as the enormity of emotions washed over her: loss, relief, strength. This was not just the end. This was a new beginning, a moment where every sordid tale transformed into purpose, revealing wounds that invited healing rather than despair. As the spirits of the maids began to fade into the light, Lila realized she had woven herself into the tapestry of their histories. "Thank you," she whispered, "for allowing me to be part of this." Each silhouette smiled, their essence dissipating into gentle wisps of air. Lila, holding the diary, felt lighter. Courage surged through her. The mansion, once a tomb of despair, now breathed life again. She stepped outside into the soft moonlight, a sense of peace wrapping around her like an embraced, welcoming wind. The mansion sat behind her, a shadow of its former self, but inside now dwelled the light of every story finally told. "Goodbye," she whispered to the now silent structure. "You will remember us." As she made her way through the gates, stepping into a new world where shadows lost their grip, Lila felt alive. The haunting echoes would always linger, but now, she would carry light within her. Now, she would be the voice that reshaped the stories destined to inspire. Now it was time to share their truths and her own. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss any exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. What did you think? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything.